Welcome back to Guitar Theory Modules. This is Module 46, and we're on pages 118 and 119. In this module, I'm going to show you diminished 7 chords, also known as fully diminished chords in classical theory. The diminished 7 chord is spelled D-I-M-7, or with that little degree sign that stands for diminished and a 7. And in my books, I like to use the D-I-M-7 marking. In Module 44, you learned that the minor 7 flat 5 chord is also called a half diminished chord. This diminished 7 chord is also called a fully diminished chord in classical theory. The bottom 3 notes of both chords form a diminished triad, and the 7th of a minor 7 flat 5 chord, or half diminished, is a minor 7th above the root, and the 7th of a fully diminished chord, or diminished 7 chord, is a diminished 7 above the root. The diminished 7 is a minor 7th that has been flatted once again, and with that, sometimes you're going to see unusual flats like C flats or F flats, or even some double flats, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Here's a C diminished 7 chord. The bottom 3 notes of this chord spell a C diminished triad. That'll be C, E flat, and G flat. Now the 7th is a diminished 7th above the root. So your root is C. A minor 7 above C would be B flat. A diminished 7 above C is going to be B double flat. And even though that B double flat sounds a whole lot like an A, we call that a B double flat because we want to continue writing these notes stacked in thirds. So you're going to have some sort of C, E, G, and B. So C, E flat, G flat, and B double flat is your C diminished 7 chord. To construct a diminished 7 chord, you first write a diminished triad, and then you write a diminished 7 above the root. So let's say we want to construct a D diminished 7 chord. First thing you're going to do is write a D diminished triad. That's going to be D, F, A flat. Then we want to write a diminished 7 above the root. So a minor 7th above the root, which is D, would be C. A diminished 7 above this root is going to be C flat. Stack them all up, we have D, F, A flat, and C flat, or D diminished 7. Now I know that diminished 7 is a new interval, so here's a way you can find the diminished 7. Take the root of the chord, raise it an octave, and then lower that note by a whole step, and that gets you your minor 7th. And then you take that minor 7th and flat it once again. Now, if your minor 7th above the root is a sharp note, you're going to change that to a natural note. If your minor 7th above the root is a natural note, you're going to change it to a flat. And if that minor 7th is already a flat, you're going to change it to double flat. At the bottom of page 119, we have this diminished 7 exercise. Your job is to construct these diminished 7 chords using those 2 steps we just talked about. First writing a diminished triad, and then adding a diminished 7 above the root. And watch out, because sometimes you may have a C flat, an F flat, or even some sort of double flat. And again, the reason for that is that we want to spell these notes as stacked thirds. If you have a copy of Guitar Theory Modules, you can write your answers right there in the book and check your work on page 223. And your chords may appear in a different octave than mine, and that's okay. If you don't have a copy of Guitar Theory Modules, you're going to need some manuscript paper to write on, and I've got some free manuscript paper you can download from my website. I'll leave a link in the description. I'm going to go over the answers in just a second, so pause the video, write your answers, start the video, and then check your work. Number 1, E diminished 7. First, write an E diminished triad. That's going to be E, G, B flat. Then we add a diminished 7 above the root. The root is E. A minor 7 would be D. A diminished 7 is going to be D flat. So we have E, G, B flat, and D flat. E diminished 7. Number 2, G diminished 7. First, construct a G diminished triad. That's going to be G, B flat, and D flat. Then we add a diminished 7 above the root. The root is G. A minor 7th above G is F, so a diminished 7 is going to be F flat. Stack them all up, you have G, B flat, D flat, F flat, G diminished 7. Number 3, G sharp diminished 7. First, construct a G sharp diminished triad. That's going to be G sharp, B, and D. Next, we add a diminished 7 above the root. The root is G sharp. A minor 7th above the root would be F sharp. So a diminished 7 above the root is going to be F, natural, or F. Stack them all up, you have G sharp, B, D, F. G sharp diminished 7. Number 4 is D diminished 7. First, you construct a D diminished triad. That'll be D, F, A flat. Next, we add a diminished 7 above the root. A minor 7th above this D would be a C, so a diminished 7 is going to be C flat. Stack them all up, you have D, F, A flat, and C flat. D diminished 7. Number 5 is B diminished 7. First, construct a B diminished triad. That's going to be B, D, and F. Next, we add a diminished 7 above the root. The root is B. A minor 7th above that B would be A. A diminished 7 is going to be A flat. Stack them all up, you have B, D, F, A flat, B diminished 7. Number 6 is F sharp diminished 7. First, construct an F sharp diminished triad. That's going to be F sharp, A, and C. Next, we add a diminished 7 above the root. The root is F sharp. A minor 7th above the root would be E, so a diminished 7 is going to be E flat. Stack them all up. We have F sharp, A, C, E flat. F sharp diminished 7. Number 7 is C sharp diminished 7. First, construct a C sharp diminished triad. That's going to be C sharp, E, and G. Next, we add a diminished 7 above the root. The root is C sharp. A minor 7th above the root is B. A diminished 7 above the root is going to be B flat. Stack them all up, you have C sharp, E, G, B flat. That's C sharp diminished 7. And A diminished 7. First, construct an A diminished triad, which is going to be A, C, E flat. Next, we add a diminished 7 above the root. Your root is A. A minor 7th above an A will be a G. So a diminished 7 is going to be G flat. Stack them all up. We have A, C, E flat, and G flat. A diminished 7. Your assignment for this module is to look for diminished 7 chords in your music and to practice writing diminished 7 chords as we just did in the exercise. So download that free manuscript paper and print as much as you need. And don't forget to check out my book, Guitar Theory Modules. Of course, you can watch all these videos for free, but if you have a copy of Guitar Theory Modules, you'll have all this information in one place and it's going to be a lot easier to follow along. So I'll leave a link for that in the description. Take your time with this, and when you're ready, I'll see you in Module 47, where I'm going to show you how to play diminished 7 arpeggios.